Hello, everyone. Marcus here. I wanted to address an accusation that the murder suicide at Keego Harbor was done by someone that was crazy. There are Jehovah's Witnesses that want to avoid talking about shunning, and they just want to focus on mental health and accuse the person involved with the shooting of that family as just being crazy. Well, let's examine that accusation. Shunning can be described as a person watching their entire family board an airplane. And in addition to that, their friends, that they've known their entire life, get on that same airplane. And the person stands and watches as the plane takes off to its destination, and in horror, they watch as that plane explodes in midair. Now, that person instantly lost all of the family members that were on that plane. They can't speak to them anymore. They lost all of the friends that were on that plane, friendships and family relationships that they've had their entire lives, gone in an instant. Well, what is that plane explosion in that illustration? That is the shunning policy of Jehovah's Witnesses, where if a person doesn't do what the church or cult tells them to do in any particular instance, or if they decide they want to leave that cult, there's a shunning policy, a disfellowshipping policy, where that person loses immediately all family and all friends aboard that plane or in that Jehovah's Witness cult. What could be the result of a person literally having all of their family and friends taken from them? What could happen? Let's look at a couple of examples of situations that have occurred, and these are just a couple of examples, where a person either lost family or that family was threatened. There was a case in Texas where a man lost his two sons to a drunk driver, his two young sons. The drunk driver was shot and killed. And the father was accused of having done the shooting. Now, when this happened, no one was surprised. You hear of a man having two young sons that were killed by a drunk driver. One dies instantly, and then another dies later, just as tragically, but later in a hospital. Well, it's not beyond anyone's imagination that this father would want to lash out and kill the person involved or the person responsible for him losing his two young sons. No one said the guy was crazy. No one said the father was crazy, although he was accused of taking a gun and shooting the drunk driver in the head. The act was wrong, but everyone understood why he would have done it had he done it. Now, this was just an accusation. And I believe the result of the trial was that the father was found innocent of having murdered the drunk driver. But everyone understood. You understand that everyone understood. The man lost family. The man lashed out, allegedly. Now, the situation with the family in Keego Harbor is one where people, Jehovah's Witnesses in particular, pretend like they just cannot understand why a person losing family, all family and friends, may react in an adverse manner. Because other people were disfellowshipped and they didn't shoot other people. Well, the problem with that is the man accused of shooting the drunk driver was in a similar situation where other people have lost family members to a drunk driver and they did not go and shoot that person. So does it mean that someone who did or was accused of doing it would be crazy? No one made that argument. No one made the argument. Other people didn't shoot drunk drivers, so if you do it, you're crazy. No one did that. Let's look at another example. A father has someone babysitting his 11-year-old son. And he walks in on the boy molesting his 11-year-old son while he was supposed to be a trusted babysitter. Now, the father beat this molester until he was unconscious. He beat this molester until you would not recognize him if you were his own mother. His face was swollen to the point where you wouldn't even recognize him. And then the father calls 911 and tells the 911 operator to send the police because he caught someone molesting his son and he's lying in a pool of blood waiting to be picked up. There was no one that thought that the man who attacked, who lashed out at someone threatening his family, no one said he was crazy. As a matter of fact, he, although being wrong legally, received a lot of support. There was no one that blamed him for lashing out when his son was molested. Now, there are people that respond a number of ways when they see or hear of a child being molested. They don't all beat the molester to the point of not being able to recognize him. But because they don't all respond the same way, that doesn't mean that one person's response to that horrible situation makes them crazy. Everyone expects an adverse reaction. Now, what that reaction is could vary. Again, let's go back to the family in Keego Harbor. There are certain people that have reacted differently to shunning. Some have taken their own lives. Here's a situation where a number of people were harmed. But here you have Jehovah's Witnesses saying, well, if you respond in a certain way to us taking your entire family and your friends all at once, and keep in mind that this is essentially forever. They will shun you forever. You will never speak to your family and friends again, as long as Watchtower continues to hold that procedure over that person's head. Well, there was an adverse reaction in Keego Harbor, and you have Jehovah's Witnesses wanting to say, oh, don't look at the fact that we took their whole family and friends from them, and the emotional distress and the mental torture that is involved with that, not to mention the isolation. Ignore all that. Oh, they're just crazy because someone reacted violently to that. So you can kind of see how Jehovah's Witnesses lack reasoning ability. The ones that have accused her of being just crazy and are aware of the shunning and know that we don't have a lot of information about this case, they lack reasoning ability, because no one else with common sense blames a person for reacting adversely when their family is taken from them. And since Jehovah's Witnesses are taking people's families and friends from them in all states across America, this is going on everywhere. This is not a situation that happens seldomly. Currently, right now, there probably isn't a state you could go to where there isn't a large group of people that have been shunned and cannot speak to their family. So this has affected a lot of people, and it is extreme. So in light of all the recent mass shootings, people lashing out for various reasons, is there not reasonable amount of evidence that we should be concerned that someone could do a mass shooting among Jehovah's Witnesses? I think back on the assemblies, because Jehovah's Witnesses aren't like just any other cult. There's reason to be concerned because a person may not just lash out at a kingdom hall or a church. There are what is called circuit and district. Circuit being a smaller group of kingdom halls or churches. District being a larger group of kingdom halls or churches, all meeting at the same time in one place. So if you have a district assembly, you have every cult member from the entire district of Jehovah's Witnesses all in one building. This is obvious reason to be concerned that anyone with that mindset, or that has the mindset now that this is starting to be somewhat regular in America, these mass shootings, now that these things are becoming commonplace, unfortunately, when you have a cult that gets together in a large mass group like that, and that same cult is guilty of taking countless people's families from them, put one and one together and it equals, there's a possibility there could be a mass shooting at a district assembly, and there would be no way of stopping it, no way of slowing it down. I can't think of a single way. They can't lock every door in a district assembly. Even if they did, someone on the inside could just unlock it and open the door. There's no way to protect the members at a district assembly. I don't even know how you would catch a shooter in a group of people that large. If everyone's wearing a suit and he's wearing a suit and everybody's running around and he runs off or she runs off or they run off, it's a situation that needs to be stopped before it becomes an issue or it becomes a problem. Also, me growing up, going to the circuit assembly, our circuit assembly was in a very rural area. I mean, our circuit assembly was way out far from the city. We would actually, during the break, go outside and look at the cows and look at the horses. We were so far out away from anyone. If something were to happen like that at a circuit assembly, even though this is a smaller group, it's still a very large group of people. If something like that were to happen at a circuit assembly, especially one as far out as the one that I grew up going to, it seems like it would be no way of stopping it. You're too far away from everything. You're way out in the hills somewhere, all grouped together, and you have a pattern of people lashing out. So in America, we have freedom of religion, or we are supposed to have freedom of religion. No religious group should be able to infringe on that freedom that anyone else has. There should be no group or religion that stands up and says, we are going to punish anyone that does not want to be a member of our group. We're going to punish anyone that wants to go and be a member of any other church. We're going to punish anyone that wants to use their freedom of speech with respects our religion. All of this is what Jehovah's Witnesses do. And we are going to punish them not just by telling them that they're not a member anymore, but we're going to punish them severely by telling all of their family, we have a system in place, an actual procedure where we make an announcement and no one in this person's family that is a member of this cult is allowed to speak to them. That should not be allowed in America, because that infringes on the freedom. Freedom as in I'm able to do something and you're not allowed to do anything adverse to me because of it. If I have freedom of speech, that means it's free. You can't then take away my family because I use that freedom of speech. But Jehovah's Witnesses somehow avoid the Constitution of the United States of America. And they are allowed to persecute anyone that has any other type of religious belief or that speaks in any way, shape, or form in a way that they do not approve of, and they do it in an extreme fashion. So, as a society, let's look at obvious situations where we could do the right thing and avoid anyone else getting hurt. The family of four was enough. We don't need anyone else getting hurt. We don't need anyone else taking their own lives. And we definitely don't need any more mass shootings where large numbers of people could be hurt, because you have all the ingredients of something bad happening. You have a cult, Jehovah's Witnesses. You have extreme policies, which involves taking away people's families and friends. And you have people that could react a number of ways based off of a religious extreme group. All of it spells disaster. So, as American citizens, something damaging to one group of people should be considered just as serious as if it was happening to everyone. If there's a group of people that are not allowed to have the religious freedom that this Constitution guarantees, it guarantees you and everyone else the ability to pick and choose what church you decide to go to, if any. And there should be no official procedure allowed by any religious institution to literally punish you by an extreme act of separating you from your loved ones. 937-789-4029 is a number you can reach me with any ideas of how we could better make light of these issues so that something can be done about them, so that no one else is harmed. Comment down below if you can think of any way that the Jehovah's Witness cult could protect themselves from someone that lashed out against them for taking their family. We're already aware that they lock the door sometimes in Kingdom Halls after their meeting starts. Someone could simply open the door back up. Someone on the inside could simply open the door back up. That's not an acceptable protocol for protection. What really needs to happen is society should stand up for the American Constitution and say, hey, this group can no longer force people. They're allowed to do it if they choose to, but they can no longer force people to not accept medical practices and to attend their religious services and to go and knock on doors with the threat of taking all of their family and friends away through disfellowshipping / shunning. So let me know what you think down below. Ex-Wallkill Bethelite Marcus signing out.